Sombra is back, unfortunately, and she's back in a big way. And by big, I mean really, really, really annoying way. I don't know how else to put it. It's a pain in the ass to play against. I just finished my placement games for all 3 roles before making this video, because I was like, you know what, if I'm going to talk about Sombra, I want to talk about it having played, an equal-ish amount of time on each role's tank, DPS, support. I can pretty much confidently say she's annoying on every role. If you're playing tank, you can't just ditch the front line and go peel to, presumably attack the Sombra who's picking at your supports and stuff. As a DPS, you're conflicted. You either drop back and leave your tank alone, or you stick with your tank and hope your supports can duke it out. If you're playing support, you're kind of fucked. Unless you're just, you have the perfect counter pick. Maybe you're playing Moira, maybe you're playing Brig, something that can help fight back in the back line and keep your other support alive. But on each role, it's hell. And that's just largely in part of the, I guess you'd call them buffs that she received in this recent patch notes. And in these patch notes, although I'm sure you've realized it by now, she had her virus buffed so that the impact damage is increased from 25 to 35. Now she gets a bonus movement speed when she's in her stealth invisibility mode, with her speed being increased from 45 to 60%. Basically, she hits harder with her virus and she's faster. Greater movement and greater damage on a already pretty stealthy and just a generally annoying character. I don't even know what to say, because it feels like a really dumb move. And that buff, coupled with the pretty much almost universal support nerf, which was a nerf to their health, which I think in most cases, except for like Lifeweaver maybe, their health dropped from 250 to 225. It just feels really dumb. Overall, I as a support main, I completely understand why you'd want a little bit of a health nerf. You want DPS and tanks to feel like they have a little more impact on supports. You want to reduce the support power creep. Totally makes sense. But on the other hand, you make Sombra more lethal. I don't know. It feels really weird, because in playing all those, placement games since the ranks were reset for the mid-season, I pretty much saw Sombra everywhere. And if you were to check any of like the Overwatch stat sites like Overbuff, it wouldn't show that to be the case. I think that's mainly just because this change has just happened, which, it makes sense that the data wouldn't have caught up yet to what I've personally witnessed. I'm curious to see if you guys have seen the same thing. I know there's generally been a lot of, negative reaction to this, which makes sense, because, dying to heroes like Soldier and Cassidy and Ashe, sure, it's annoying, maybe they hit a lucky headshot, whatever, it's fine, maybe your positioning was bad, maybe I don't know, maybe you were in a bad spot. I don't know. There's a million different situations to explain why and how these characters kill you and how it doesn't feel like a ripoff. But when you get snuck up on by Sombra out of nowhere, maybe you're running back to the point to join a team fight and you get hit by Sombra from behind and she hits you with her virus, hits you down with a couple bullets, and zips away after she kills you like it's nothing. It fucking sucks. That's the only way I can fucking put it. It sucks. And to see that this is going to continue happening for a while, it feels really weird. And one of the initial thoughts that I had when I saw and felt this game play change happening during a game, I was like, interesting. I know it's going to sound crazy. They didn't make Juno overpowered upon launch, which is something that we've typically seen with every hero launched aside from Lifeweaver. It felt weird that, hey, Juno didn't receive any sort of overpowered, anythings at launch. And, they decided to make Sombra maybe the standout character to be, a little overtuned. Maybe it's weird. Maybe it's like some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory type thing. I totally get it if it sounds weird, but to me, that's what initial thing came to mind, because it felt like Sombra fit in her role perfectly before these changes came out. Sombra was stealthy. She was, she punished those who were sitting in the back line who perhaps were a little too far from their team, would not be able to receive support if the support was available, blah, blah, blah. It worked. And, looking at the pick rates from the past 3 months, at least on, it's different on console and support, but she's got a pick rate that's pretty consistently around, the top 10, top 8 DPS. And, that indicates that, for me, I don't have access to all the data, but she seems to be doing fine. And I get that's not the case, apparently. If she needs these buffs, then that could not have been the case. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to say something because it felt like I was going insane. Sombra was just everywhere, man, everywhere. And it sucked to play against on every role. There was no role where I was like, all right, if I play this character and use this cooldown, I will completely be able to shut her down. She won't be able to do anything. Maybe you could look at Kiriko and say, oh, if you pick Kiriko, you use Suzu, sure. But in practice, you look at the cooldowns line up. Kiriko Suzu is a much slower cooldown in comparison to Sombra's. And you look at that and it just feels like Sombra still wins that matchup every time. time. She doesn't have a real hard counter if you're going up against a good Sombra who is constantly poking at your backlines. She seems to change the entire way that the whole team has to play if you want your supports to be able to do their job in support. It feels like this change has drastically changed the impact that Sombra has on team fights and on the game, a lot more than any other hero, because obviously that's what heroes are supposed to do. They're supposed to change the way that, the player plays the game, the way that the enemy team plays the game, and so on. But this feels different than any other player, Like, example, if they have a Pharah, you just go hit scan. If they go Sombra, things get a lot more unclear, People will say, oh, just play together, but that's not that's not realistic all the time. But who knows? I could be whining about nothing. I could be onto something. Please let me know what you guys are thinking. I hope I'm not alone in this. I've seen a few posts on Reddit and Twitter yelling about Sombra. Let me know what you guys think.